Hi friends, in this part 4 of pulmonary pathology, we are going for non-small cell carcinoma continuation, and then I just started the spectrum of neuroendocrine lesions that include small cell carcinoma and large cell large cell neuroendocrine carcinoma. Please don't forget to see the nice table that I attempted to make the criteria for members of neuroendocrine lesions or neuroendocrine family in the lung. Thank you very much. And I think with the next part 5, we will be done with pulmonary pathology for the time being. See you in part 5 after this. Bye. Going to case number 10. Severe loss of weight in a 78-year-old female. This is the case number 10. Ashwini, slide check.
Yes, sir.
So this is the section of lung. This is the exercise lobectomy. Okay, they cannot take like this in a transbronchial biopsy or in the VATS. And the malignancy, they never do VATS. VATS they do only for interstitial lung disease. And this shows a cystic space. And even in this low power, you can see the papillary pattern. Okay, so this is adenocarcinoma. Let us wait for 1 minute, 1 second for the focus. You can see nice cystic spaces lined by papillary processes with the central fibrovascular core. That central fibrovascular core is very, very important. I hope you all remember the micropapillary carcinoma Sandhya madam showed in the morning. There is no fibrovascular core. In micropapillary carcinoma, they are papillae arising from papillae. Okay, whereas in papillary carcinoma, they are only papillae, no branching beyond that, first generation papillary branching, and they will have central fibrovascular core. You can see the nice central fibrovascular core and moderate cytological atypia. Okay, so this is a case of papillary invasive papillary adenocarcinoma of the lung. Central core and the papillary process, papillary adenocarcinoma. Next case, case number 9, lung mass 3 centimeter in a 62-year-old male, normal lung, tumor lung, some bluish material, and circumscribed margin. It is not infiltrating, and even in this low power, there is no STAS, spread through air space. Okay, and in case of lobectomy, you can see the big tumor here. Doesn't matter whether it is it's a lobectomy. So even if you see the spread through airspace, it doesn't matter. Case number 9. So you can see the normal lung tumor. Go to the high powering tumor, bluish mucinous material with a gland forming tumor cells. And this mucinous material is more than what you can see in acinar carcinoma. So by diagnosis, this is a mucinous adenocarcinoma. Okay, you can see a lot of mucin, both intracellular and extracellular. And when you do mucin stain, you can see the nice intracellular mucins. And whenever you see mucin, you look for any signet cell. Okay, when the signet cell is present, it is a poor prognosis. So intracellular mucin can be in 2 types of cells. One, it can be tall columnar cells or round or oval cells with a nuclear push to the periphery with a nuclear indentation. So that is known as, both are intracellular, but one is signet cell, other one is columnar cell. That differentiation is very, very important. because Cygnus cell carry a very bad prognosis. So this is a primary mucinous adenocarcinoma. Okay. Second case is also the same thing. See, in the exam, sometimes the examiner can give the same slide twice. Okay, I will just go to see the whole mount of this section and this section. They are the same. And one point which you have to remember is be careful with IHC in mucinous adenocarcinomas. They will be CK7 negative, TTF negative, and CK20 positive, CDX2 positive. Okay, so even it may be primary adenocarcinoma, but mucinous carcinomas, they won't read textbooks. They won't take organ specific markers except colonic carcinoma, where we have a new marker called STAT-B1. STAT-B1, STAT B1. STAT-B2, I think. STAT-B2, STAT. So another important thing you have to remember in mucinous carcinoma, as I told you, intracellular mucin, whether it is tall columnar cells. When it is there in the tall columnar cells, like in our case, it is mucinous adenocarcinoma. When it is in the round to oval cells, then it will be Cygnus cell carcinoma, where the prognosis is poor. When you see a lot of extracellular mucin composing more than 50% of the tumor, pools of mucin with the tumor cells floating in them, then you call colloid carcinoma. Remember, mucinous carcinoma predominantly intracellular mucin, whereas colloid carcinoma predominantly extracellular mucin. And all these mucinous tumors, as I was answering that question, are KRAS positive. So molecularly, they are different from the non-mucinous carcinomas. Let us go back to slide 20. Lung mass in a 64-year-old female. This looks like a cyst with a solid component. Ashwini, slide check.
Yes, sir.
Any questions, ma?
No, none, sir.
Thank you. So this is a normal lung. This is a cystic and solid area. So let us see the normal lung. Just for practice, is there any spread through airspace? I don't see any. These are the mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. Just wait for 10 seconds. Yes. So well in focus. Mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. So blood vessel. So whenever you see blood vessel, there should be a airway, and probably this is the airway of that involved by the tumor. And this is arranged in a glandular pattern, but there is a peculiar formation. Does it look like a secretory phase of endometrium? See the lot of vacuolations. Okay, see the vacuolations. Or clear cell papillary renal cell carcinoma. These are all the piano key appearance. Remember, madam told a clear cell papillary carcinoma from the urethra in the morning. So they will have a piano key appearance. And another thing you have to remember, this is how the lung will look like a pseudoglandular pattern during the development. No atypia will be there, but the pattern and the subnuclear vacuolations will be there. So when you see adenocarcinoma with a lot of subnuclear vacuolations and the cells near the top of the cell border, you have to think of adenocarcinoma fetal type. Okay, so this is adenocarcinoma fetal type. See the clear vacuolations, early secretory phase, day 16, 17. So adenocarcinoma fetal type. And again, it's divided into low grade and high grade. Ours is a low grade, mild nuclear atypia, focal necrosis, TTF positive in most of them, and beta catenin will be nuclear positivity, neuroendocrine markers positive, good prognosis. Whereas in high grade, the atypia is very severe. There is diffuse necrosis. In our case, we can go back to the case, there is no necrosis at all. Okay, in the medium power, you can scan. Some amount of necrosis is here, maybe previous biopsy, but no extensive necrosis. Some focal necrosis is there, no extensive necrosis. Whereas in high grade, it will be diffuse necrosis. 50% of the time TTF will be negative, and importantly, beta catenin will be membranous positivity. Why it is important to differentiate low grade and high grade? Because of the prognosis. High grade is having a very bad prognosis, and surprisingly, this has a neuroendocrine markers in addition to SALL4 germ cell markers, SALL4, glypican 3, and alpha fetoprotein. It should be AFP. I will change it right now. Otherwise, I will forget. 1 minute. Should be alpha fetoprotein. Thank you. Good. So let us go to the next case. Case number 11, lung mass in a 63-year-old female. Case number 11 should be in page 1. Normal lung, circumscribed tumor, and in the normal lung, some mucosa associated lymphoid tissue, no spread through airspace. So you have to, for spread through airspace in the specimens, you have to look predominantly away from the tumor. Okay, that 2500 micrometer, it's not practiced. So whether it is present or not. So this is having more clear cells, somewhat clear cells. We will go to the high power. Let us wait for the thing. This predominantly looks squamoid, but here and there is some attempted gland formation. Predominantly it looks squamoid. Some necrosis. Go to the low power. Go to some other area. Here it is looking more glandular, isn't it? Let us wait for the slide to get focus. Yes, some glandular and some squamoid areas are there. So we have to think of adenosquamous carcinoma, and we have to do markers. Okay, for adenosquamous carcinoma, p63 and TTF1 should be positive. Even if it is a squamoid and a TTF positive, we have to think of adenosquamous, even in case of p63 negativity. So this is predominantly looking like squamoid, but since TTF is positive, we have to call it as adenosquamous carcinoma. Here, the concept in the lung cancer, the adenocarcinomas have the driver mutation, whereas squamous cell carcinoma don't have any mutation. And when the tumor is having a driver mutation, we have the treatment options. So they want to make tumor as many into adenocarcinoma as possible. That's why even if it is looking squamous with the TTF positive, we have to call it adenosquamous. We have to look for driver mutations, and when driver mutations are present, we have to treat it with specific target treatment or personalized medicine. Super. So the distinct cell population of our adenocarcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma each should be more than 10% of the tumor. Okay. IHC or mucin stain in case of non-keratinization or basaloid squamous component is very essential. And solid adenocarcinoma component, whenever it is there, we have to do for P40 also to see is there any squamous component. So let us go to the next case, case number 15. Left upper lobe lesion, 3 centimeter in a 68-year-old male. We have totally 20 slides. Will be done in another 15 minutes or 20 minutes. By the way of talking, I forget what is the case number. Okay, case number 15, slide 2. Slightly I am stretching out of my time. I hope you all don't mind. If you have any previous engagements, please carry on. So this is a core biopsy. That means the mass is present, and it is a CT-guided biopsy. And predominantly you see in this power osteoclast type of giant cells, isn't it? And tumor cells in the background. Let us go to the high power. Want to go further down. Zoom it to enable. Close them. And you see the spindle cells are highly malignant cells, pleomorphic cells in the background with scattered osteoclasts. Okay, so scattered osteoclasts with epithelioid or spindle cells. Let us go to the low power. Let us go to the another core. Let us see here. So these are pleomorphic tumor cells, high-grade nuclear pleomorphism. No gland formation or no squamous formation. And when you come across extensive, some cells look rhabdoid, extensive necrosis, some sclerosis. These areas doesn't show that many osteoclasts like giant cells. But when you come to this area, they show a lot of osteoclasts like giant cells. Okay, so this is a case of anaplastic carcinoma with scattered osteoclasts like giant cells, or pleomorphic carcinoma with scattered osteoclasts. More than 10% of spindle cells are tumor giant cells with scattered osteoclasts is the criteria. Coming to case number 12, female 45, history of diarrhea and central mass within the airway. This is the airway, and here you can see nicely the tumor is present like a button in the airway, and this is the peripheral portion of the lung. And with this, you can diagnose carcinoid tumor. No areas of hemorrhage or necrosis. Okay, so this is a case of carcinoid tumor from GRAS. Let us see the case number 12, page number 1. So very well circumscribed tumor located within the airway. Okay, here you can see the airway line, the accompanying artery. Okay, and when you come to the periphery, you will see the, I hope I saw it when I scanned for it. You see the respiratory epithelium. Hopefully we will see it. Go to local. Here you can see. Can you see the respiratory epithelium? So this is situated within the bronchi. And see, this is what known as neuroendocrine pattern, organoid pattern of arrangement. That is very, very important on HNE. Whether it is small cell won't show that. Carcinoid and large cell will have the organoid pattern. When you see this organoid pattern, then only you have to go for immunohistochemistry. Okay, organoid pattern. In pheochromocytoma, we call it Zellballen pattern. It's the same. Okay. I want to go to further high power just to show you the salt and pepper chromatin pattern and the plasmacytoid cells. Not in good focus in this area. We go to the low power, go to some other area. So the organoid pattern with the plasmacytoid cells. See how they are looking like plasma cells. This is a marker for neuroendocrine origin, and see the salt and pepper chromatin pattern. Okay, so no mitosis, no necrosis. So this is a typical carcinoid tumor. Plasmacytoid and salt and pepper chromatin pattern carcinoid tumor. So coming to neuroendocrine lesions, these are all the neuroendocrine lesions. Normally they are seen like 1 or 2 cells within the basement membrane. Hyperplasia, increased number of cells, more than 5 cells, because normally up to 4 cells you can see. More than 5 cells, but within the basement membrane. So what are all the terminologies? Normal, hyperplasia, tumor-led, carcinoid, atypical carcinoid, small cell, large cell neuroendocrine. This is the spectrum. But please remember, just for continuation, I am saying the spectrum. Small cell carcinoma is not arising from atypical carcinoid or carcinoid. It's a different animal. Just for understanding, I am putting it as a spectrum. So what you have to look? You have to look for number of cells, basement membrane, whether it is beyond the basement membrane or within the basement membrane. What is the size of the lesion, mitosis, necrosis, nucleoli, and other features. Mitosis means it is not 10 I power field, it is per 2 millimeter square. So when the number of cells are less than 5, it is normal. When it is more than 5, it is either hyperplasia, tumorlet, or others. When it is seen within the basement membrane, less than 5 cells, normal. More than 5 cells, hyperplasia. So the terminology diffuse idiopathic pulmonary neuroendocrine cell hyperplasia within the basement membrane, whereas from tumorlet, it is outside basement membrane. 5 millimeter is the cutoff. When it is less than 5 millimeter, it is tumorlet. When it is more than 5 millimeter, it is carcinoid and beyond. Mitosis, you all know, 2 to 10. When it is 2 to 10, it is atypical carcinoid. Less than 2, carcinoid. More than 10, small cell and large cell carcinoid. When necrosis, focally present, atypical carcinoid. Up to atypical carcinoid, no necrosis. Atypical carcinoid, focal necrosis, and the large cell neuroendocrine carcinoma and small cell carcinoma, diffuse necrosis. Nucleoli is present only in large cell neuroendocrine carcinoma. When you see more than 5 neuroendocrine cells in more than 3 bronchioles, then it is diffuse. When you see the hyperplasia in less than 3 bronchioles, then it is localized neuroendocrine cell hyperplasia. Nuclear molding and crush artifact are diagnostic of small cell carcinoma. Moderate amount of cytoplasm is present in large cell neuroendocrine carcinoma. This is a good concept slide. I want all of you to take a shot of it.